Again, how you doing? This is Terry Armstrong, co-founder of TCM Products. Back again for another episode of Lemons to Lemonade, Stories of Perseverance. First of all, please follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can just search TCM Lifestyle. So you can see all of our videos, all these podcasts that we're doing, not only for Lemons to Lemonade, but for TCM Live. Also, follow us on IG and Facebook at TCM Collection and on Pinterest at TCM Lifestyle. We really want you to be a part of our community and see all the things we're doing and trying to do, and want to involve you in the conversations about where TCM goes next. All right. So today I wanted to talk about some of the challenges that we face as business people, and how, and when we're trying to level up, trying to get to that next level, it can be daunting. So today, really the topic is about, how do you deal with that gut punch that you get periodically in business and even personally, where what you planned to happen doesn't necessarily happen that way. And it feels like it puts, it stops everything, and sometimes it can be incapacitating for us because we're going along and things seem to be going well, and then all of a sudden your plan gets sidetracked by forces beyond, a lot of times beyond your control, or just forces that you didn't or things you didn't foresee. But one of the things, one of my business dealings that I'm working on, rather lucrative, and we were looking for it to happen, this month or relatively soon, and all of a sudden you feel like the deal's about to go off the rails, and it feels like a gut punch, and it's easy for us to get into a place of, man, I'm never going to be able to get to what I want to get to. It's always something. I had to really step back this week and just think about things, and not only for TCM, but some of the other things that I'm doing, and start to appreciate those challenges we get faced with. It is really like a gut punch. You really can get to a place where you don't think what you want to do is going to happen, and you sometimes even question, man, do I keep going with this? And my answer to that is, that's the whole point of Stories of Perseverance, is that yes, you should keep going, but it's really a change of mindset. A lot of times we hear about how people make these wonderful things happen and how things are going so well for others. And if people say this all the time, if you pay attention to social media, it looks like everybody's living a rosy life. Everything's going great for these companies. Everything, that's how people market, they brand themselves, brand their companies. And that's fine. I find extreme value in the journey. I feel that, not the success. Success is great. It is the result of a lot of things. My testimony is the journey. The result is just confirmation that I went through that journey. I persevered. I did what, I lived in my purpose, and I did what, for me, I did what God asked me to do, and here's what he rewarded me with. But even then, I understand that once I get to that point, being purposeful in my life, I got to that point for a reason. Now, where am I supposed to go next? And the journey continues. And so that's what I mean about the journey being my testimony. As entrepreneurs, when we sometimes forget the lessons learned in those journeys that got you to this point, that got you dealing with this stuff. One of the things I had to do this weekend, had to go back and look at, how did I deal with situations, and how did I overcome things that I was dealing with 10 years ago to get to this point? And I would task other entrepreneurs to reflect, every periodically on just the lessons learned, not reflect on the pain, because that's what we tend to do when, you know, a lot of testimonies are good, but they talk about the feeling that you were feeling at that moment in time, and that's so other people can connect with the story, but and see that they're not the only ones going through this. But also the purpose of a testimony and understanding the journey is to pick out that lesson that you needed to learn in that situation so that you can apply it here and now to help you get to the next point in your journey. So as an entrepreneur, one of the things you have to start thinking about is I really appreciate the fact when I have very little to no resources, trying to make a living, trying to get from one point in my life to the next. Because what it forced me to do back then is what I actually still need to do today in my business so I don't waste resources, is figure out how to get things done, figure out what's available to me, figure out what relationships I have that I can leverage, that I can create a mutually beneficial situation with someone else at very low cost or investment. And a lot of times, we're in this stage of, I guess we can kind of consider this, we're coming out of the coming on the other side of the pandemic. Numbers are still high, but we're learning how to live in this a little bit more. But a lot of entrepreneurs, got flushed with cash from grants and PPP loans, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is good stuff. It was needed especially for the businesses that were, in dire straits. But sometimes when you get flushed with a lot of cash or flushed with a lot of resources, you don't know how to properly utilize them, or you don't figure out how to properly utilize them. You can get wasteful. And so, one of the things I had to go back and look this very week is, when things become challenging and you're trying to do so much and things don't work out, that plan you drew up on paper, if I get this here, then I can do X, Y, and Z. If plans don't work out on paper, what do you do? How do you enjoy the journey you're on when you clearly don't have the resources to have that platinum experience that you want to have with business? Instead, you got to go a little bit, leaner, which is, I think is a good mindset for entrepreneurs anyway, because you start to understand, I'm not paying for tasks. I don't want to pay for tasks. I want to pay for results. And that was one of the lessons I learned this week is, I get a lot of people coming at me wanting to work with us as TCM and my other ventures, and they want to do tasks. They want to, oh, we can do X, Y, and Z. It'll look so great. It'll be this. It'll be that. And for them, that's the value. Their task completion. When I was, 10 years ago, when I was doing other things before TCM, and even maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, I understood I don't have to spend a lot to get the result I want sometimes. And I have to sometimes figure out a different pathway to the result I'm trying to get to, because I don't have the same variables as another business. And that is one of those lessons that I think it'll serve entrepreneurs well is, you see a lot of other entrepreneurs, people doing a lot of things, and they'll tell you how they got there. They'll tell you, especially the ones that may be flush with cash or resources or have access to certain things that you don't have access to. And that's fine for them. That's their journey. I promise you, they have a testimony about some other things that you're not familiar with. But don't get so caught up in how they did it and what they had to get there, trying to emulate that. Figure out what you have. Figure out the path, your path based on your set of variables. Because I promise you, when I look back, honestly, over the last 2-3 weeks, the things I've been doing, the the, um, the things I forgot I had access to, the relationships I forgot I had that I never tapped into from a entrepreneur perspective for my business. And the minute I turned some of those switches, I was like, whoa, wait, oh man, you mean I've been sitting on this all this time? And we could have been doing this 2-3 years ago for TCM. And I don't know if any other entrepreneurs ever think about that. Is because, you kind of we're so enamored with how we want it to look. The stylized, the branding, which is important. But sometimes winning is, if you use a sports analogy, we're going to win ugly today, you know. And sometimes being an entrepreneur is just that. You're going to win, but it's going to be an ugly fight. It's not going to be that path that someone else took that seemed like it was so rosy. It's going to be our path. And, that becomes my testimony, is because, what is unique for me and Rance and our thing is very much different from other brands. And that's cool. And that, honestly, that becomes, kind of like your DNA as a company. It's, I've seen a lot of companies try to emulate other companies' success. And the one thing they never take into account is that the variables, the things that other company have, the culture that other company has is so remarkably different than what you got. And so you start to minimize the value of what you have, thinking that, okay, I need to be like that to have that level of success. That level of success, can be achieved more than likely, but you don't have to take the same pathway. You have to really, I think for me, I believe God gives all those gifts. I think that's the same. I apply that mindset to business as well. God gives every business a certain gift, and that gift, for that business is something they can leverage uniquely. So if you sometimes stop looking at others and trying to emulate them and try to be a better version of them instead of being the best version of yourself, which is honestly TCM's whole philosophy about grooming, is we want men to be the best version of themselves. That's unique to them. I don't want to tell somebody to look like that. You got to go, we make products so you can look like that. We make products so you can look your best. And so with entrepreneurs, when you're looking out there in the world, and you're thinking about where you're at, and you get into that point where, oh man, this is a rough week or rough month. Oh, I don't know how we're going to make payroll. I don't know how we're going to pay all our vendors. Take a step back, take a look at the journey so far. And I promise you, this probably, it might be on a different scale, but this ain't the first time you dealt with something like this. And sometimes we need to tap into those old lessons so that we can, dust it off, look at that playbook. It might be different situations, but, the approach that you use then could very much apply to the circumstances today. And so, and the real reason that I'm talking about this is sometimes it can affect your mindset. You get desperate. You get, as a business owner, entrepreneur, you start pressing on things, and they become, trying to do things that are really not right for your business. That's the thing. I'm like, how do you tap into your own journey, because you learn some lessons along the way. Not everything has to be new. It's I think my business journey, my entrepreneurial journey has been a mesh of, learning from my journey and taking in more information from outside, from outside and new, and meshing those together to create a new plan forward based on all the best sets of information. But a lot of times we get focused on looking forward. We never, okay, what are those I do it on my phone. I take, certain times of, things happen. It's great. These iPhones are great. They got notes on here. I have daily notes to myself, especially when I had some moments where I not only went through something, but there's a lesson that I needed to document out of there. And I don't know when I'm gonna pull it out again, but it's great to go back and have to be able to just read through. Oh, I remember that. Oh, how did I do that? And then once I look at what I have, then I can look at what's in front of me and what's out there and say, oh, okay, I can marry these two together if I do this way. Here's how I can use that. But if you don't know your journey and know your lessons that you should have learned along the way and you've forgotten them because you don't think they're relevant anymore, I think that's part of the problem for us as entrepreneurs, is that we get overwhelmed when we start experiencing, start running, we start, sometimes the entrepreneurial journey is, you start walking, maybe jogging, and then you get to that point where you're sprinting, and it's hard to think while you got your business sprinting. Sometimes if you don't you're not purposeful about going back and understanding who you are, the lessons you learned, and then really looking out there and taking in more information that is applicable. So I wanted to share that with everyone, that hey, don't discount your testimony. Understand what it really is, what you really got out of it, and the results, while great and they're fun, the testimony is the journey. That's how what you're doing, what you learn. That's how you can be wise in your business later on, is because those experiences are real life lessons. And they, and people need, you need to look at them every now and then and revisit them, just to know, what and it helps other people as well when you share that journey in the trials and tribulations that your business might have went through to get where it is today. And once again, Terry Armstrong, co-founder for TCM Products. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We want to keep doing this. We got TCM Live episodes out there as well. We're going to be constantly putting more and more content out there. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search TCM Lifestyle. Also, like I said, please follow us on IG and Facebook at TCM Collection, and on Pinterest at TCM Lifestyle. We want to really start engaging our community a lot more on all platforms. And if we even went so far that if you really want to communicate with us on a daily basis, join our text community, 404-737-0937. Rance or I will respond to text messages if you really want to share something with us, or want to give us some feedback, or just be a part of our journey and help us pick out what the next great thing TCM is going to do. Once again, this is Terry Armstrong. Hey, thank y'all for joining us today, and please take a look at your testimony. Figure out what those lessons are. Don't ever forget them, because you went through that for a reason.